You're listening to Forward Faster, bite-sized insights for entrepreneurs.
Hello and welcome to the Forward Faster podcast. I'm Matt Foley, the Director of Incubation here at NextCorps, and today we are joined by Sean Charles Morris from Kavyar. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here, Matt.
Sean, for the people that aren't familiar with Kavyar, what is Kavyar all about?
So Kavyar is a platform that lets photographers or helps photographers get their photos published in magazines and other media outlets. I think if you pull the curtain back just a bit, it's there's a lot more that it does. That's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Underneath the surface, it's also a network, a sophisticated network for creative professionals. We're talking about photographers, models, makeup artists, fashion designers, and also modeling agencies and advertising agencies and so on. So PR firms. So yeah, it's kind of a really complex platform.
Okay. So where did this idea come from?
Well, it started with, it started really pedestrian. Like we wanted to replace a network that was already out there. Like we wanted to build a better network that was kind of the leader in the fashion beauty space. So we started with trying to be a better network for them. And because I was within the industry, I kind of had a little clothing label and I'd been a creative professional throughout my life. So I've been in the industry and I realized that this industry is just totally fragmented and nothing is doing it well. And the leading platform out there, I won't mention their name, but they're pretty lax with who they let into the network. They claim to be curated, but there was a lot of it's just in this industry too. There is this guy with camera. I guess the name for like just a guy that grabs a camera and just tries to go take pictures of women.
Okay.
Right. Like, so it wasn't a very professional network. And I felt like we needed a cleaner, safer place for people to collaborate. So we said, let's just do a better one.
Okay.
And that didn't really work out so well because we learned, unfortunately, that the world needs doesn't need another portfolio network, which is what that was. So
you tell me more about that. It didn't work out that well. What did you learn early on?
Early on, we learned that we weren't growing. So I think we at about 600 to 800 users, we said, how are we going to get this thing bigger, right? Like, what's going on? And we had an idea at that point that the difference in our platform is that we would be less focused on one vertical and welcome a ton of different verticals.
Okay.
And that wasn't necessarily the case. We had to take a look at what was going on our platform at that point, and we looked at like who was on our platform, who was using it, and like by and large, most of the people on the platform were fashion photographers and their teams. So then we started talking to them and said like, hey, why are you doing this work? This work is gorgeous. It's beautiful. They weren't doing it for money. They were doing it to submit it to a magazine and try to get it published.
Okay.
Publishing in the fashion industry, fashion photography industry, beauty industry is incredibly important because it's something that you need on your resume to kind of get ahead. So, when we had these, all these people on our platform, they're doing all this work, creating these amazing productions for no money whatsoever to get published. And then we said, let's talk to, magazine editors. Started talking to magazine editors and realized that their system was terrible. They basically had to, they basically have this like fragmented process where they have like, accept 72 DPI images via email. Then they have to flip to Dropbox to get like high res photos and so on. So yeah, it was a terrible process.
So you came out of the gate thinking one thing. You realized it wasn't really working. Looking at the metrics and then talking to the users, you figured out, there's actually a different need. Is that right?
Yeah. That there was something to focus on. Like that, first of all, we weren't going to appeal, like the network we were building for fashion photographers wouldn't be the same network that graphic designers would want, for instance, or maybe videographers would want. that there was definitely some value in having with our network having like a space that made sense for a particular vertical that was smaller. And then when we narrowed and focused on that vertical, we then could look at their needs and try to find out like what can we do of value for them.
So it sounds like there was a big pivot, and then what's happened since after this pivot?
So, well, the initial idea with the pivot was like, okay, well, like how do we do this, right? Like, so magazines have like a multi-step process where they're accepting low-res images, and then accepting high-res images in another place with another app, and we said, hey, we do this already. We do this with the uploading and the different derivatives of the images and all the rights management stuff. We already do that. So we said, let's bring on the magazines on the platform. And then the magazines, the people that submit to the magazines, they register via Kavyar, and they essentially become our growth channel. So
that's how you got that loop going of acquiring new users, was by working with the magazines.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So what have been like some of your biggest challenges as you've grown out Kavyar?
So I think the biggest thing for us is that we had to do this nights and weekends. Like this is year eight essentially right now. So year 8, it's a lot of years of nights and weekends. The vast majority of it was nights and weekends work. So it was trying to, first of all, like, build and execute through being older, having lives, growing families, and knowing what to do, like having a really good, clear picture of like what to do, like what to build, and not being able to get that done like as fast as you want, working with those constrictions. What
advice would you give to a solo founder or a team that's approaching that same scenario? What would you say to them?
Make sure you have rich parents.
Okay.
Would be
okay.
I would say like
wealthy relatives. That's number
like
one.
Like get somebody you and be willing to like sleep in their house and stuff and just go for it. But no, I mean, for what advice? So that's like just stick with it.
Okay.
Like for us, we knew that we had the right team, and when we learned the customer discovery process and, like lean development, we learned it's a loop, and you can just keep running through that loop and you're going to figure it out.
Did you foresee where you are today at all? Was it even a glimmer in your eyes when you first started out, or is it very different?
I think I can maybe sum it up in like, and if I'm being completely honest, we were really, really naive.
Okay.
We had no idea what we were doing. We're really good at all me and my fellow co-founders, we're all builders. So we're all either developers, UI designers, or somebody within the industry. So we build software. We said, let's just build some software. But the entrepreneurial side was something that wasn't necessarily like there in the beginning. And so we had no idea that this would be 8 years. If you told us that it would be 8 years and we couldn't guarantee if you're successful or not, I don't know if we would have started it. But I think we started it in the personality types we are. We just weren't going to stop.
So where are you at today? I mean, to the extent that you're comfortable sharing some numbers with the audience, tell us where Kavyar is at today.
So we should be pretty soon passing 100,000 users,
Awesome.
and
Cool.
and that's not just basic users. That's creative professionals, photographers, models.
Great.
So it's a really nice user base.
Congrats. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. We are now beginning to hire ourselves. So we have a payroll. We're getting everybody on board and we're kind of executing on that. So that's something that's great. So we're no longer nights and weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. I could just maybe sum up just like high level. We are now the world's leading platform for that photographers in fashion and beauty use to get their work published. So, and the leading platform also for the magazines to like source that work. So
cool. So where are things going from here? So you've been 8 years now. Like where do you want to take the company?
That's a great question. We talk about it at least once a month.
Okay.
We actually have a like everybody has their own personal goals that we kind of like unite and merge. But I think where we're all at is that we are just going to like keep heads down and focus. Like I think one of the things that we've learned across these 8 years is that you can have like, it's important to plan. It's important to go through that as an exercise, but it all is meaningless after you pass like step 1 or 2 on that plan.
Yeah.
Everything's changing.
Yeah.
So after like, as long as you're learning, everything's changing. So for us, like really like it's heads down getting our last co-founder on board. Every month it's like month to month, like what are we going to do this month in sales? Like what are we going to do to like increase revenue? Like what are our goals? So, but I think big picture, big vision. We want to have this, be larger and grow, but I think we're more aligned on the indie hacking spectrum at this point. We have full ownership of our company. We did take a small investment early on, and we've since paid that off. So which was an awesome milestone. I think where we're at though is that we want to indie hack and kind of have something big with a small team, maintain control of it, and have that kind of maneuverability. And if we see an opportunity somewhere down the line to make it into something massive, that we would consider taking an investment and kind of like pouring some gasoline on it and growing it. So
like kind of evaluating your options and seeing how that goes.
Yeah, I think like for us, it's really about like our personal goals, where we want to go with this, and it might not necessarily be all exciting at this point, but
Sure.
We don't spend a ton of time dreaming.
Okay.
We just have too many like high priority things. Like I'm worried about like what's happening at the end of this month.
Sure.
Like where are we going to be at the end of this month? Am I going to deliver an awesome report? Like where we're like, yeah, we grew at X%, this and that. We hit all our goals and more. Like, so that's really like, it's like heads down at this point, especially until maybe end of this year.
So anyone watching this on video will notice that Sean and I are wearing masks. So I guess I'll ask, how, if at all, did the pandemic impact Kavyar?
Yeah. So early on when it first happened, I think it was a question of like, how do we react to it? And I think that maybe was one of the biggest impacts on our company. Like we ceased all sales and marketing emails to creative professionals to like, get them to like one of the ways we make money is subscription accounts.
Uh-huh.
So we would, send regular emails, like, selling them on getting, upgrading to a subscription account. We ceased that because it was like, these people, everything's getting canceled on them. Like they're, creative professionals are incredibly like affected by not being able to gather, right? Like weddings, family portraits, all kinds of things that like bring in revenue.
Yeah.
They can't do it. So at first it was like kind of finding our footing through it. And then figuring out like how we're going to respond, deciding if we're big enough to respond. And so I think the major impact on us, and I know you're probably asking numbers and this and that, and like business and sales.
No,
but I think the
how
major
it impacted you in all
yeah.
aspects.
So the major impact on us was just like, how do we navigate this, and are we going to hit a brick wall at some point, which was something that we considered. So like for instance, if like the way these photographers create beautiful works and submit them to magazines is by gathering and collaborating in person.
Can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. In studios, small rooms,
Yeah.
maybe outdoors, but still like, makeup artists and so on, like spending, all day together.
Yeah.
So like our fear was, is that work going to dry up? Like what's going to happen? And like, are we going to hit a brick wall? And we never did. So, and then we also just kind of like said, let's just figure a way out of this. And one of the things we did was we created a COVID campaign, where we, for every person, creative professional that upgraded, we gave away 3 accounts for free. We donated 3 accounts. So we donated over about, I think, $30,000, a little over $30,000 worth of accounts to people affected. It was a way for us to sell through it.
Yeah.
So we found a way to sell through it. And then when our numbers kind of held up to like, and indicated that, hey, we can sell through this now, like especially now, like I think there was a lot of stimulus money from different governments, like we're a global platform, and that money, like we were seeing some of the benefits of that money being injected back in.
Yeah.
So, but for I would say activity increased. We had a ton more traffic. That was for sure. And then we started seeing sales like just steadily rise. So we said, okay, we feel comfortable kind of moving forward.
Okay. Was that immediately after things happened, or when did you start to see sales rise?
So I think we saw a dip, especially in subscriptions and like new subscriptions. And I think there was a little uncertainty from us and not selling, but also from the magazine subscriptions, which are pretty large. It's like creative professionals are $9 a month, starting to $29 a month.
Okay.
And magazines are $49 a month to $200 a month. So like when a $200 a month account drops, a few of those drop, like you notice it. So so we had a few of those happen. And so we saw some people in immediate need and uncertainty that like were a little desperate and scared and kind of like, but that kind of, bounced back as well.
You've been a member here at NextCorps for almost that entire time, right? To say 8 years. How long have you been here at NextCorps?
So NextCorps, we were here at High Tech Rochester. So we were in Henrietta.
Yeah.
We went through I think the first program we went through was
The
Launchpad. Yeah. So went through the Launchpad program to start, and then I went through 10 personally.
Okay.
After that. So we've kind of alumni of a lot of stuff here. So
yeah. And in what ways has NextCorps helped Kavyar?
Well, you took 3 really great builders and creators of product developers and taught them how to connect that skill set with their business and their customers, and understanding how to build. And literally, I would say like after Launchpad, learning that process for us was an awesome superpower. That told me, it was at that point that if turned into a when, right? Like if, like it wasn't an if we were going to be successful. It became, okay, it's just a matter of time.
Okay.
Because I know I have the right team. I know we can build things. I know we can learn, we can grow and we don't necessarily have to do this business as it is today.
Yeah.
So, and I think more importantly, what it taught me going through a lot of those programs, even more important than just that, is I learned it really wasn't about the business.
Okay.
It wasn't about the product. It was about the entrepreneur.
Okay.
Like, I think I can sum it up in a rhetorical question. Like, if you were an exceptional entrepreneur, what are your chances of success compared to if you're just okay? So for us, the focus became on like, how do we get better? Like every day. So, and going through those programs to 10, like I got exposed to sales, things that affect me today, like understanding like the sales process and like how I can apply that to a platform, a large platform. And,
Sure.
Just basic business fundamentals, understanding like how, investing in VC works, things like that, which maybe we haven't really went that route maybe because of it, but it was, important information. So it really was about like, we're going to get better as entrepreneurs. And I think that was, if it's the biggest thing that took us the longest, it wasn't just nights and weekends. It was honestly, we weren't good enough in the beginning. So to be where we're at.
What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's thinking about, both starting a business and potentially joining an incubator? What would you tell them?
Start with an accelerator program and incubator.
Okay.
I think we started Kavyar maybe 4 months, 5 months. I'm probably getting that time wrong, but sometime around that before we joined the Launchpad Accelerator and joined the incubator. And in that time, we were just like floundering. We were like, you're so naive and you don't know it at that point. You're saying really dumb things. You're doing really dumb things. No one and people like right now I can, like, if I'm sitting there talking to like a new entrepreneur, like you can smell it, right? Like you know it. And then like, so if you're trying to like get in to talk to somebody to have a customer discovery interview or sales, like thing or something like that, like you're they're going to smell you a mile away and they're not going to want to talk to you. So, like, and having that type of support and understanding, running things by ideas and having a process and having people hold you accountable is important.
Yeah. Okay. So the accountability, having that process and the education component.
Yeah. I mean, the education, it's just, so many people talk about like, the business and ideas and this and that. And like, it's all focused on the business, but it's like the people running the business are the most important. Like you can switch that business. Like you can pivot, you can change. Like if you're doing the right things and you're a talented entrepreneur, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So
great. Well, if people are interested in finding out more about Kavyar, what should they do?
So they can go to Kavyar.com. It's www.kavyar.com, and they can go there. And if you are interested in submitting, you'll be able to click on a button to see like open opportunities. And those are all live opportunities that are put out by buyer magazines, and they're active calls for work. So you can submit through them. Important to note, we got your back. If you submit on our platform, if you're a paying member or not, whatever, like we handle dispute resolution and protect our submitters.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Sean. Really appreciate you taking the time. For anybody listening, be sure to check out, like Sean said, go to kavyar.com and learn more about Kavyar. And also, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you go to our website at nextcorps.org/podcast. Thanks.